have nothing. I would assume that the people here would speak under, are probably going to speak under the public hearing.
We'll go to the approval of minutes of June 3rd, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Okay, well, we'll open the public hearing. First public hearing is request by Donald Levy, owner, and Minnow Ham and with M Square Engineering LLC as agent to petition the Natural Resources Committee for a zoning classification change from floodplain to non-floodplain and wetland to non-wetland in the Shoreland District per section 7.1300 of the Ozark County Shoreland and Floodplain zoning ordinance. I won't go into reading all the definitions here, but this is affecting the following real estate described in the town of Cedarburg, and we're talking about tax key number 03-005-05000 period 00 and 03-005-03 -00 period 00. And this would be the Mud Creek the recognizing the results of the Mud Creek floodplain study. So I'll open that up. Speak to this at all.
Quick overview.
Pardon?
Do you want me to give a quick little overview or?
Whatever's necessary.
Well, our department received, as you see, a zoning reclassification request. It's for a proposed subdivision in the town of Cedarburg. Today, we're here to take action on 3 items regarding this potential development. One is that there was an unstudied floodplain on the property. It was a Zone A floodplain. So it's been studied, and as a result, the floodplain has shrunk quite a bit. I provided that information in your packet. I showed the before and after. A second item is a wetland delineation was done by SewerPack. And as a result of the wetland delineation, there were some areas that are no longer identified as wetland. And the third request is to place some fill in the floodplain for access to the property. There's at the end of Brandt Drive, that's the access point. There's like a lane there now already. And to the left of the lane, there's a wetland area, and this drive would have to fill a small portion of the wet hydric soil area. So for us today, we're looking at recognizing the floodplain study, change the mapping. We're looking at changing the mapping for the wetland delineation. Then we're looking to, Mr. Levy is here this morning. He's looking for approval to place fill in the wetland. The DNR has approved of the project thus far, and the Army Corps of Engineers has also signed off on the fill.
So this issue has met all the requirements of Ozark County as far as coming to the public hearing.
Yes.
I'll open the public hearing to the public if somebody wants to speak to the issue. Come identify yourself. Anybody? Nobody wants to speak?
Yeah, this would be your time if you had any. I know you had mentioned you were here for the.
You're talking Cedarburg. You're talking Cedarburg. I'm not for the one for Cedarburg. I'm for the port one.
Oh, okay.
Don't make a problem.
No. I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Well, everybody that they know that this
It's
is
hard
their
to hear
time.
her. She's so low in tone.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just one moment for clarification here, though. The one for the town of Port is the minor land division and is not part of the public hearing. So I guess my question to you, Barb, is should she have spoken under public comment, or are you going to allow her to speak under the
Wants
action
to
item.
speak under which one?
Under the action item, it would be under planning and parks. And that would be number 2.
On the minor land division?
Right. Which is not part of this public hearing.
Did
So
you want to speak to, she didn't understand the procedure.
public hearing.
I'm sorry, which one are you here? Are you here just for the, okay, it's not part of the public hearing, it's down in the minor land division. Isn't that correct, right, Andy? Because there's nothing for the town of Fort.
I'm not involved in that one.
Right, so that's under the minor land division, which is an action item.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to allow them to speak when the time comes up, just because of a misunderstanding.
Okay, but you think they could have spoken at the,
Under public comment, had we realized that.
I always like to let people speak to.
I mean, that's certainly up to you and the committee. If they have no objections, I would say,
Well, they can speak to it when we get to it.
right, sure.
Okay, so hang in there. When we get to that item, we will let you speak on that. Then should we close the public hearing number 1 since there's no comments? And then we'll open public hearing number 2, amendment to chapter 7 of the Zaki County Code of Ordinances, Shoreland Floodplain Zoning Ordinance to adopt and incorporate by reference the FEMA letter map revision, case number 19-05-5425P, and corresponding revised insurance study, effective date August 25th, 2021. Speak to that at all, or?
Sure, this is actually going back several years. Actually, probably about 5 years ago, there was a project in the city of Cedarburg. It was for a 29-acre subdivision known as Glenat Cedar Creek, I believe it is. And back then, through the city, they had placed roughly about 1,600 cubic yards of fill in the floodplain. And they also did some grading in the floodplain, and they did, I believe, some floodplain storage in that area. And this was all approved prior to the project going in. And as a result, then the floodplain has actually decreased by about 1/10 of a foot, the elevation of the floodplain. And also the floodway has narrowed somewhat. So now what happened is FEMA now recognized the change, and now they're changing the floodplain map to recognize the change.
Anyone here want to speak to that issue? Hearing none, I think we'll close that public hearing. And we'll go on to Land and Water Management Department. Action item, ordinance, shoreline and floodplain zoning map amendment, Town of Cedarburg, Section 5. And that should be in your packet.
Well, I would entertain any questions regarding the project. Again, this is going back to the wetland delineation, the floodplain study that was completed, and then the fill for the wetland. And I did mention in my staff report the 7 items of concern regarding placement to fill in a floodplain. If you had any questions regarding that, I did speak with M Squared Engineering regarding those items. Manel is here this morning. And certainly as a department, there's no major adverse impacts to the wetland area. And Manel also provided information in that respect. So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
So it's in compliance with all regulations of Ozark
Yes.
County. That's what we're always looking for, so that all things have been met. Somebody want to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, just for clarification, please. Just say opposed so that who's ever
Opposed.
online can hear that. You at least ask.
Should I be naming these two?
You should, there's only 2.
Motion
but-
by
Right,
Rob Huddle. By Rob, seconded by Nat Talia. We're stuck with this today, that's the way. That's what we're gonna do.
Ping pong.
Okay, we're gonna move on to ordinance amending section 7.0201 of the shoreline and floodplain zoning ordinance to adopt letter of map revision 19-05-5425P and associated floodplain insurance study. This is all like housekeeping, right?
Right.
That's what I would call it. And as long as it's all in compliance with Ozark County's regulations, unless there's somebody that has some opposition to it.
It's all in compliance.
It's all in compliance. So could we entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Supervisor Holman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Planning and parks. We'll go back to that first one, right? Action item, minor land division. Donald Levy, owner. N61W6058 Columbia Road, Cedarburg. And Minnow Han, applicant or agent of N19W6719 Commerce Court, Cedarburg, requesting a land division approval for a minor land division by plot. This is parcel number 03005050000, period 00. Total acreage to be divided approximately 83.60 acres.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Supervisor Winkle.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carried.
Just as a clarification, that the approval was with conditions of the staff report?
Okay, which was included in our packet, right?
Correct.
Those conditions are both agreed, yeah. I guess we just assume that and.
Just for clarification, I just want to make sure that the conditions are part of the approval.
I do note that in the motion.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on to this minor land division. Seth Amernick and Samantha Amernick, I don't know if I'm pronouncing those right, owner, applicant and agent, 5800 6 Mile Road, Belgium, requesting a land division approval for a minor land division by certified survey map in accord with section 7.1400. This is parcel number 0700909-00 period dash, total acreage to be divided into approximately 58.972. This is the one where if somebody wanted to speak to this, this the issue that you wanted to, and we'll hear you at this time.
What are they exactly proposing to do?
Andrew?
Yes, this is a land division to divide the land that was just described. It will be the land division is within the shoreland area, so therefore it comes before us. The land division is going to create 5 lots ranging from 1 acre up to 51 acres. So again, the reason it's before us. We did look at it. This has been before the town of Port Washington, as well as coming before you this morning. We did look at the land use plans. It is consistent with both the county and the town's land use plan. The zoning will follow the zoning change at the town of Port Washington will follow the land division, which is the normal process. There is proposed access off of County Road KW, so that's a county road. So there will be a required county highway access permit, and they are working with the Public Works Highway Department to finalize that highway access off of County Highway W. And I would just then add that no objections to the land division, but approval with the conditions as mentioned. In particular, showing the shoreland area on the plat, concurrence on the wetlands that have been referenced, and then the other notes as according to the conditions in the report, including Ozaki County as a approving authority and necessary signatures.
I'll make a motion. Supervisor Holwell with the conditions as noted.
Was there anybody else that wanted to speak? I mean, just for a point of clarification, that if there is any members of the public that want to speak to this, this is similar to a public comment. So you can get up and you can announce who you are, and you can speak whether you're in support or against, but not be part of the discussion. So if there's anybody that does want to speak before you make the motion,
Yes. My name is.
if you'd like to just stand up so the rest of the committee can see you and tell us who you are.
I'm Alana Clausen. I live on the property north of this, on KW, and I have a concern. I guess I'm against it. I have a concern with the access off KW. It is a very busy highway with lots of semi-traffic, constant traffic. Where they're putting the plots is on a hill. So if the driveways, and they're going to be very steep because it's also down, I think it's dangerous. I don't think it's a good idea. It's also farmland that's being used that needs to continue to be used. So I'm against the division and making.
I'm Joy Hayward. I'm adjacent to that property. I feel the same as her. I feel it should say agricultural because it is farmland. I'm a farmer myself. I can't understand how you can allow houses to be built on there when the property straight across from my house has been condemned for contaminated water from the fly ash spill from the electric company. My water's been being tested for the last 10 years. I lost a neighbor to cancer. They took his property because of the fly ash. They couldn't get fresh water. I can't understand how you can make that a subdivision. I also am opposed to it being a subdivision.
Is there anybody else that wants to talk?
I have a comment to both, as being the landowner. Is that I have the well on the property, and I've also had the property tested for water, and that there is no issue with the groundwater there. We are also outside of the DNR's mapping for the contaminant area. And also I've been in contact with the county for the highway division as far as driveway access. And they have no issue with the driveway because they're at the proper footages apart based on their regulations is where basically I went to them and asked them where they would like the driveways to be put on my land division. And they, said, this is where, if you're going to do it, we would like them to go.
Yeah, I have another concern. You also, with the creek running through there, I've noticed you've got some old vehicles parked down by the creek. We've been working on that creek, trying to keep it clean so it doesn't get contaminated. Making it subdivision, are we going to have more problems with people parking garbage out in the fields so it can drain into the creek? That's another concern we have.
Barb, I would say from this point forward, this is for the committee to discuss. If you want to discuss any of these issues, it's up to you. And move forward from there. Andrew's here certainly to address
Is
any of
there
your
anyone
concerns.
else out there, because then we'll close it to the public, correct?
Correct.
Everyone had their say, because this will go to the committee then itself where you can participate.
I guess I have a question. Andrew, you mentioned the town of Port Washington. They voted to approve this?
It's working through the town's process as I understand it, and our approval is conditional on their approval. So regardless, these usually happen simultaneously. So yeah, the town is taking it up, and that's my understanding. They did make some minor changes to the plat CSM with regard to some of the lot acreage changed slightly, et cetera. So there has been some changes at the town level and resubmitted, but it is working its way through the town process. My understanding also, as the owner mentioned, is that the highway department did not have any issues, and you know, as far as the county highway access. So, but that would be required again. One of the conditions that would be in order for us to sign off on the final plat, the owner would need to get that county highway access permit finalized. Same with town of Port Washington approval. That would need to be finalized before the county would sign off.
Okay, I have one question. How come we got a letter in the mail last week from the town board saying that they're gonna have a meeting on this?
Ma'am, you had your, I apologize, but you had your options, you had your chance to speak, and that's all that's allowed under public comment. You would have to contact Andrew, or you would have to contact the town of Port. You don't get the opportunity to ask questions now while the committee discusses it.
Okay, so in other words, this is all cut and dry. Why are you gonna have the public meeting?
It's not a public hearing, they're having a discussion on the meeting. You made your statement under public comment. She allowed you to make a statement under public comment under the item, but the questions back and forth don't happen here at the committee level. Correct, Barb?
Correct.
This is a time for the committee now to decide. And if you have any concerns from the town of Port, you would have to address it with the town of Port.
Again, I would just reiterate, our approval is conditional on the town of Port Washington. So that's typical, and that's an ongoing process with the town.
Well, I sympathize with the comments that we'd like to see it remain agricultural. That's really not our concern. Our concern is to weigh everything here, and you know, there's no water concerns. She's done the studies and stuff, so I see no reason. I'm going to continue with my motion to approve this with the condition as stated.
I'll second.
So they really have another chance at the township to talk to them, because this isn't approved until
You would have to ask Andrew that question.
what Andrew was just stated.
Yeah, if you approve it,
On what the town does as far as zoning and changing and whatever.
yeah. Yes, if you approve it here this morning with conditions, one of those conditions is approval by the town of Port Washington. So if they end up changing or not approving, then you know, we would not move. Obviously, our approval does not move forward then either. So we would not sign off on the final CSM plat until all the conditions are met. One of those conditions being the town of Port Washington's approval. So there will be probably additional meetings at the town of Port Washington as well.
No,
Okay, and you second. Is there any other comments or
I have,
discussion?
Andrew, what do the neighboring landowners receive in the notice? Did they receive this letter with all of the conditions?
That letter is available to them either through the website or it's available at the office. We don't mail that letter, the staff report, but it is available to them. So they get a letter notifying them of this meeting and that the staff report is available to them either by visiting the office, or they can get it online as the NRC information is posted. So that's part of the public record. That letter goes out 10 days, according to our ordinance, goes out 10 days prior to this meeting.
To your knowledge, has anybody questioned or called for that letter or the conditions and all of this, that they've looked at this? You don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, to your knowledge, has anybody actually asked for these, the attachments that we've received?
We have not had anybody ask or visit the office. Again, like I said, it is available. We don't obviously know if they visit the website and get it downloaded from the website, but it is available publicly as soon as it gets posted. So, but nobody has visited the office or left message that I'm aware of.
Any other comments here?
Could you email us a copy of the letter that they received?
Sure. If you give me a second too, I can do that, and I can also share it here if that helps at all. It basically is a notice just of the land division, the description of the land, and the notice of this meeting when it's scheduled. That's essentially the letter. But let me see if I can just find it quickly. And I can, yes, I can email it out.
You know, yeah, I think it's 64 in our packet.
64.
Yeah, we have it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think I included it with, I think it was included with one of the land divisions. I'm not sure it was included with the other one, but that's the same type of letter that goes out for all land divisions. 10 days prior, it goes to all landowners that, well, according to our ordinance, it's technically directly adjacent to the land division, but we go a little bit beyond that. We do 300 feet so that it does pick up lots often divided by either navigable stream or waterway or roads. So it's anybody that's within a 300-foot buffer of the land division that gets the letter. And that's all per our ordinance.
Thought I had read that. It's on page 64 in our packet here. Any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. And we'll go on to number 3 of an action item, submittal and acceptance of a U.S. Forest Service Great Lakes Restoration Initiative Forest Restoration Grant for native tree planting in Ozaukee County Coastal Parks Project area. You want to speak to that, Andrew?
Sure, I can give a brief description. This is similar to past grants that we've submitted. I think we've received now 4 U.S. Forest Service grants, similar in nature, but this is a different project area. If you will, it's going to be our coastal county parks. There is an emphasis in the current RFP from the Forest Service to look at both coastal areas for reforestation, as well as areas along stream and riparian corridors. So our focus here is the coastal park areas. So that would include Vermont, Lions Den, and then future Clay Bluffs area for forestry restoration. Similar to past grants will be, there's funding to support conservation core activity to help us plant trees, private contractor. The scope will include both small seedling planting as well as large trees in those 3 areas, which we're referring to as the county coastal park area, project area. And I get, again, emphasis, the total budget here, or the total grant award would be for $200,000. And there is a required match, which is supported by both pending and existing funding from various sources, both grant and also the damage funds that we received out at Lions Den for the vandalism. So we're leveraging those matching funds and hopefully be able to get a larger project and do a little bit more with regard to tree planting in those 3 areas.
It has nothing to do with the county levy.
No, there is some in-kind staff time as usual and in-kind travel and supplies. It's fairly minor, actually. Most of it, as you mentioned, is supported by both pending and existing funding. The vast majority is coming from that vandalism settlement as our match. So correct.
You have a motion on this or more?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? And I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, now we're back to Land Water Management Department. Management Financial Information Reports, Land and Water Management Reports. Does anybody have any questions for Andy on that? I assume that's you all the way
Yes.
through.
And the only thing I would add is we had our soil health field day last week and it went very well. We had about 80 folks attend. Ended up being a really nice day, and we had Erin Silva from UW talk about interseeding and planting green. She did a really nice job. And we also had Ann Piper from the UW on Farms Research Network, and we talked about our interseeding trials that we're going through the state. It was a nice event. We had a Clean Farm Families meeting Tuesday night this week, and we're looking at another field day probably in October.
Okay.
Yeah. And our interseeder planter is out still. Another farmer is using it to interseed into his corn to improve his quantity of forage for silage. Are there any questions about anything? I know I'm always hitting on the soil health things, but certainly we have a lot of other things we work on.
I just have a question. I
Yeah.
just have how are the farmers faring this year with the lack of rain?
You know, my opinion from what I've seen is there are some fields where when the farmers planted, it was dry and some of the crops didn't germinate real well. Overall, I would say the crops are looking rather well. I think the beans I think we got the rain just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I think there was a couple wheat fields that were hurt by the drought, that if we wouldn't have gotten rain the day we did,
Right?
we would have lost those wheat fields. But we did get them in time. There's like some high and low spots that are a little iffy, but in general, it's actually been a good year.
Yeah, it's really good.
You could see some of the knolls were
Right.
extremely stressed. So I personally, just from what I see in my area, looks like it came in time and we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, we've been blessed with a timely rain, that's for sure.
Not being a farmer, it seems like from what I've read, it's like the dry, they get out in the fields in the dry soil, right? And then when the rain hit.
Right.
it's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
real
been a great
fortunate.
year.
And just to comment on the interseeding, I get the Wisconsin State Farmer, and absolutely across the state of Wisconsin, this is the going thing. There is not 1 week that there isn't an article from somewhere of the people pursuing this as far as taking care of the land and the water issues. So I'm glad we're participating and that we're a good part of it.
I should mention too that AgriView has reached out to our department and they have asked that once a month that I send them information about the Clean Farm Families. I did include the links, I think, in this meeting packet. So it's kind of nice they're featuring the Clean Farm Families and some of the work that's been done.
Never thought I'd say this, but no till farmer magazine is kind of interesting.
You know, I've received several real sincere thank yous from people. Boy, that's really a good magazine. Thanks for getting that. We didn't know it existed. They like to hear the farmer testimonials. So yeah, that's been good.
Like the one thing is, the guy put a probe in, like 4 inches deep, like where there was no till, and the ground temperature was, like 70 something, and then up in the field it was, like 94, to the point where
Right.
at a certain temperature, these crops or the plants kind of just stop.
Yeah, at about 90 degrees and the microbial activity in the soil doesn't.
We have our demonstration on the next board meeting of the 21st? And I'm hoping that we have a good turnout, that everybody realizes. I mean, we as natural resources, we've been at this for quite a while. I've been to several of the meetings and things like that, but I don't know the whole board. And as Ozaukee County, many people think of it as not as agricultural because of the south end being urban. But we do have a lot of land in the north end of the county that definitely can participate in this.
Oh, absolutely. And on the south end as
Well,
well.
there's still some, yes,
Right, that area.
in different areas on the south end, but major north of 33, there's a lot of land.
So our goal on the 21st is to have the soil health trailer from USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service and show soils, put about an inch of rainwater over.
On the outside.
Yeah, the idea would be to actually meet outside and do the soil health trailer, show the difference in infiltration and runoff and the difference in, cropping scenarios. Because that really explains why we're doing what it is we're doing. I'm hoping that that really hits home, that people understand we're doing no-till and cover crops, so that over the years, we can change the soil structure and so on and get the water to actually infiltrate. And that soil health trailer will demonstrate that really well. And then go inside. Matt Winker then I was going to help him with a PowerPoint to show what he's been doing to improve soil health. And then Mike Paulus was going to be there to talk about the group as well.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping I can make that meeting. Any more questions for Andy?
Do you have any new farmers that have joined this year or leased the interseeder equipment and everything compared to last year?
Yeah, it's, that's what makes the group successful really, is there's new farmers. There's a farmer near Harrington Beach State Park. He did no-till 40 acres for the first time ever, and he put cover crops down for the first time. There's another farmer in Belgium who's used the interseeder. He put in some, it's called Ceros Sudan sorghum grass, Sudan sorghum. And he's using that for forage. Yeah, there's more and more people every year trying it. And to me, that's the fun of it. I don't know if fun is the right
Any other questions for Andy?
word. I do enjoy it.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
Then we'll go on to the University Extension Office, Management, Financial Information Reports, Extension Reports. Is there anybody here to represent?
here.
There she is.
Okay, good. So Cindy can join us today. So I'll give you a little bit update on what I've been up to. I've been doing, so we did our tractor safety class that was in the report, and I think I've talked about that. And so we've been doing the exams on farm, which has been really awesome because I've been able to get on farm and speak to a lot of the farmers and meet with the youth. And I was just very happy to hear we've gotten great feedback about some of our online virtual programs that we did this year. One of the farms, actually from Ozaukee County, pulled me aside and said, like, thank you so much. We as a family have been able to attend more extension programs this year than all of the extension programs combined in the past. So that was a really great piece of feedback that we received, and happy to hear it. So we're going to continue some of those virtual programs. We are going back to in-person programs. I know this year because I do more farm management, we're not doing in-person programs until September, but we do have programs in September. We're doing a virtual online part of the coffee chat series that has been in. So that next one is next Monday. Those have been really great. They're Monday mornings. Once a month, we talk all sorts of things. We talk about farms, we talk about families. The next one's on traditions today and tomorrow, and then the one in August on dinner conversations to have on the family table. So they've been really good. I've seen great attendance from Ozaukee County for those. It's a statewide program, but at least a third of the attendance has been from Ozaukee or Washington counties, which is, I think, is great because traditionally that's been a hard program to get folks from these counties too. So I'm happy to see that. The other big piece that I'm working on is the Mission Vision Values module that I received the grant for. So right now I've got the educational material. It needs to be submitted to our instructional design team by the end of July. And then that is going to be developed. It's going to be both looked at from an instructional design lens and then also a graphic design lens. And part of that grant is to preview that in front of farmers. So put it online, preview it in front of farmers, get feedback, do some farmer interviews,
And hopefully if that goes well, if people like the way that material is presented, we'll go for a bigger grant in November and hopefully receive a $50,000 grant to produce more strategic leadership and farm management material in a more interactive, engaging online format that people can do at home whenever they feel like it, but still connect to me as the educator. That's my big summer project this year.
Sounds like you're a busy lady.
Yeah, it's fun.
Which is good.
I love it. The other piece of, I know we talked a little bit about how farmers are doing. The only thing I would say to watch is the fact that feed prices, because corn and beans are really high right now, that feed prices could become an issue for our dairies. However, a lot of folks still have a lot of silage and haylage from last year, so they're doing okay right now. That's really the only thing
Yeah,
I'm concerned about is feed prices, but everything else is, we made it through last year, okay, I think, for those that did.
it's been a better year.
Well, thank you much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work there. Register of deeds, land information, that's in your packet. I don't think there's anybody here to represent that, but the line in there in the report, what appears to be happening is there's just not enough inventory of houses and lots to meet the demand. I think that says it all, right? Have any questions on that? We'd have to come back. Okay, we'll move on to planning and parks. Continuing discussion, use of county park tennis courts, Vermont and Wabadonia for pickleball. Andrew. Oh,
Yes, thank you. Hopefully you can see this. I'm just sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see the shared screen. Anyway, I've received several residents have contacted me about striping our existing tennis courts to allow for pickleball. What I'm showing on the screen now is kind of how that's done. So there's just extra line work that's put down. The court is actually smaller for pickleball. So I had several residents approach me from both the city of Mequon near Vermont Park for those tennis courts. That's what prompted this. But in the past, I've also received a similar request up in Fredonia for the use of the Wabadonia County Park tennis courts as well. So I wanted to get the committee's thoughts on this. I have had interested groups in both with the desire to do this. The expense for this is relatively minor. As I'm showing on the graphic here, there's just additional striping put in the existing tennis courts to allow for this to occur. They do use the existing net, although it's not technically regulation. The pickleball net is technically slightly lower, but they weren't asking for that at this time. And there's other ways to split up the tennis courts, but essentially it would be a little bit of our staff labor and some relatively minor supplies cost for getting the asphalt tape necessary to stripe it. I guess the biggest issue that I wanted to discuss though with the committee is that, like I said, there is an interested group both at Vermont and in the past there has been at Wabadonia. But we also do have very consistent play for the tennis courts. And there is a group that plays tennis there fairly regularly. I believe at Vermont, there's a informal kind of women's group that plays there. And so they have expressed some concerns that if we do stripe and allow for pickleball, that they'll have a harder time getting court time to play tennis. So obviously there's a limited number of courts both at Vermont and Wabadonia. Those are only 2 county parks with tennis courts currently, so that this would potentially apply to one or both. So there is some residents have reached out to me with a little bit of concern that if we do allow or stripe it for pickleball, that they'll have a hard time getting court time. So the only thing I can say about that, and I'll talk a little bit later in the next item about what we've been doing with reservations. Obviously, there's limited courts, so we can only provide what we have with the existing courts. But I thought if there, I have no, the supplies and labor costs are fairly minor to allow for pickleball. So I really don't have an issue. And I guess if there is conflicts with the two user groups, pickleball versus tennis, that we could set up a reservation system for the court so that people could reserve it. We could either do that just on a reservation basis free of charge or charge for it if that becomes an issue. Again, that's one of the ways I can see to address kind of usage for time. People could reserve the court if they're so inclined. So I'll talk about our reservation system going next, but that seems to be, the major concern. I'm not really all that concerned about the materials or labor cost to actually stripe the court, and that would be all we would propose. Like I said, the actual tennis net is slightly higher than pickleball, but we are not proposing to purchase or put in new nets. They would just use the existing net and stripe it accordingly. So I don't know if the committee has any thoughts on that or concerns or other ways that we might consider managing, or if you just maybe perhaps don't like the idea of the shared use. So
Presently, is it first come, first serve? Is that how
yeah, yes. All the courts are first come, first serve as it is presently. Obviously, the only allowable use is tennis right now. I mean, they can play pickleball, but they don't have the striping necessary really to play, appropriately. We have had people in the past, have badminton and using the tennis courts. So generally that's been allowed. We don't allow people to use it for soccer or foot, hacky sack or things like that as well, which aren't very common, but yeah, first come, first serve.
Wabadonia, I go back there quite often. I think there's less usage there than on the southern end of the county. So the conflict would probably be in the Mequon area at Vermont. So
yeah, I would agree with that. We did have a very consistent tennis group that used to play at Wabadonia in the past. That has waned a little bit. There still is tennis play, but the usage at Vermont is much higher.
Because obviously we want the best usage possible, but we want people to be satisfied with that. If it doesn't interfere with the tennis, like you're saying now, the conflict between the two groups, I would say it'd be a good thing to give it a try, if nothing else. Comments here?
Yeah, I support that. I don't play pickleball, but I'm hearing more and more about people playing pickleball. Yes. And I have a good friend who is a lifelong tennis player who is now almost, solely playing pickleball instead of tennis. So I would be in favor of this, and I'd suggest that maybe we try it on one of the courts and, start off with that and see how that goes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that was exactly my thought, is to stripe just one of our courts and see how that goes. And we can also kind of regulate, or not regulate, but monitor the usage and see if there needs to be any other steps taken to
Maybe
either.
the tennis players will try it out and decide they like pickleball better and advocate for more pickleball courts.
Yeah, I would say that's been my, as of late, all these things go in ebbs and flows as far as recreational play, but I would say that there does seem to be quite an interest in pickleball.
I think age creates a migration to pickleball anyway. As they get older, they don't want to have to run around the court as much.
Right.
I agree, and I can think of that, but I think your idea of still one court's a good idea. I don't think tennis players should feel entitled that they've got more rights to the court than the pickleball players do. I think we have equal access.
Do we have two courts up at Wabadonia? could you do one there and one in Vermont? I mean,
Yeah.
that you, yeah.
That was exactly my thought, to try the striping, one court in each of the parks. And then I can bring it back and report out how it's going, if we get comments or concerns. And but that was my thought, to stripe one court at each park.
I agree.
Yeah.
How do you both feel the same
I
way?
agree. I agree.
It's an offering from something else, and if there's people out there that want to use it and it creates good use, that would be wonderful. And like Natalia said, it could change from some tennis players going to pickleball.
And we'll probably get some feedback if there's people complaining, it's like, why are those?
Right.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on that? You want to go on to a presentation on online Ozarka County Park System reservation system?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for those comments, and we'll proceed in that way with the pickleball. Yeah, I wanted to talk this morning, and I have a short PowerPoint that I'll share on my screen, about our new online reservation system for the parks. Where it's still a little bit of a work in progress, but it is up and running, and I wanted to share what we're doing. This has been in the works for a long time. We've been having ongoing discussion, I guess, and issues with online payment. We've resolved some of that, although it's still a work in progress. We also had hoped to do this through our existing golf course software, which has obviously online reservations for the golf course. And part of our agreement with them was that they would expand it and look at adding for our parks reservation system, but that has been ongoing for 3 years now, and we just haven't gotten over the hump, so to speak, with getting that functional. So I first want to mention, I guess, kudos. Our intern, Brittany Hahn, actually helped a great deal in doing the research, searching out companies that provide kind of online reservations, the different payment systems and expense to the county, et cetera, and then also develop the site. So with that, I'll share my screen and share a PowerPoint that we put together just to give you a little bit of feeling about what we're doing with this. And like I said, it is a work in progress, but yeah, Brittany did a great job on researching, and we ended up with a company called PlayNow. So this is an online booking system, and it is intended to really function to serve all the reservation needs in the parks. But we started out at Wabadonia Park with camping and shelter reservations. One, because prompted by the vacancy in our caretaker position and a need to bring this online and manage it better. But two, even with our new caretaker on board now, this will be expanded to the county park system as a whole. So first of all, we are able to use this software and integrate it right into the county website. So if you go to the county website, and as I mentioned, still being built out, but we started with the campsites first, and then started to work on reservations for the shelters, et cetera, in the parks. But here you can see what it looks like on our website for Wabadonia Park and the camping. You can go in, you can look at the details. An online map comes up to show you where the campsite is. There's photos that we're continuing to add, but photos of each of the sites, so you can get a feeling for what the campsite looks like or the shelter looks like. And then over on the right-hand side here, you can see that very customizable for us. We can set kind of reservation limits and rules and check-in and check-out time. But from the user side, they can go in, pick a park, pick a time for the reservation, et cetera, provide our details. This for us also gets around, phone messages and not understanding or getting correct contact information or correct dates. And so it's user driven. In other words, they put in all the reservation details. As I mentioned, we've been working on this for a while, and one of the hitches was the payment process. This online system that we're using very flexible. It has a lot of different payment gateways. The one we're currently using, just because that's, we had it set up for other reasons, is PayPal. But we do, and we've been talking with the Treasurer's Department as well. We're looking to expand that so that there's additional payment gateways, if you will, of which one is the one that the county treasurer uses for online payment as well. So the software is very flexible in that way. You're probably interested in kind of how we pay for the software. So there's two ways we can do it: on a flat fee kind of basis or a commission basis. Right now, based on the number of reservations we take, the usage, et cetera, we're set up to pay on a commission basis. So it's 1.5% on each of the reservations. And you can see here the percent commission actually decreases at certain intervals when we receive more reservations. And then we don't, that doesn't per se, it's paid separately, independently, if you will, of the reservations or the revenue coming in. So it's an expense that we have expense to an expense account, if you will. So it comes out separately. I know this is a lot to look at, but this is just kind of the way the reservations are listed. We can put it in a calendar format or a listing. This is showing, for example, we can sort and look at, just all the reservations that we have for Wabadonia Park, for instance, camping, and get all those date reservations and who reserved it, et cetera. We can also show it as a calendar, which is very useful for our caretakers when they want to have a quick glance at what the reservation schedule looks like to, prepare or clean the shelters or set up for the campers, et cetera. The reservation forms are very customizable as well. So from our end, this is the back end user, but we can customize it, which was one of the issues working through our golf course software, was the customization process. Really, this is very flexible and designed to cover all kinds of reservations. So everything from, picnic areas to camping to shelter reservation, et cetera. We can set all kinds of rules, if you will. So how long the shelter can be rented, when checkout time is. We can gather all, like I said, all their personal details. We can make some of it required and some of it optional, et cetera. So this is just kind of an example of the different fields that we can set. Another really nice feature, which is fairly common, but this is very user-friendly. So our ordinance specifies some of the pricing or our fee structure. And some of that's based on the size of user groups and stuff. So we can set that. We also uniquely have, the difference between resident and non-resident. So again, the software from the back end user standpoint, very flexible. We can set up all these default conditions, if you will, for pricing, resident, non-resident, number of users, et cetera. And likewise, there's a lot of options to fit our time model. So again, if we have a checkout date, this also comes in very handy with our H.H. Peters Youth Camp. So if we need time in between user groups to clean and sanitize and things like that, so we can customize that as well, the intervals between. That goes with the campsites as too, which is very important to avoid any overlap, et cetera. So we can set some of those rules with our time models into the software. Everybody then receives a confirmation email automatically. So once they do their reservation, as you would anticipate, they get a confirmation email, and that's sent directly. And it has some of the, conditions or regulations also that are included, and we continue to modify that. But this information gets emailed directly to them once they submit payment. Which I guess is another thing I should say, one of the things that we're really pushing to do everything now through the online system. In the past, we've had a little bit of a hybrid, and so we've had some walk-on. We're not eliminating, particularly with camping, we're not eliminating walk-on, but if they do walk on and want to reserve a site, we're going to direct them to do it through the online reservation. So they still would not, work with directly. I mean, they could work with our caretaker to do it through the online system, but they wouldn't, for instance, pay cash and reserve a campsite with a walk-on basis, which we had accommodated in the past. And this is just altogether more secure, better tracking. And so therefore, we're really pushing everybody, even if they are a walk-on, which we won't eliminate, they need to do it through the online system, which also then can track, so we don't have duplication in reservations or overlap or confusion in that way. We're still working on the customizable reports, but there are a lot of options. And for instance, this is one, like I said earlier, you can output just those that are Wabadonia camping, for instance, and you can see all the usernames and their contact information. So if our caretaker would need to get a hold of them for any reason, they didn't show up, or maybe they are on the wrong site or whatever, he can verify that against one of these reports. Same goes with shelters, etc. The one part that I said we're still working on is we're trying to get the reports we need to continue to report to this committee, NRC, with our financials and stuff. So that's a work in progress as far as getting that updated and in a format that we can then pass on to finance to do those monthly revenue reports. But that should all be doable, just a work in progress. And then lastly, we want to make sure that this could be done mobile. So that's another option or aspect that we're doing. There is the mobile aspect of this, and we're continuing to work on that, improve that mobile application. One of the things, like I said, for walk-ons, particularly for camping, we want to facilitate this with our caretaker now, so that hopefully he can have a handheld tablet or something that he can assist people making a reservation if they're a walk-on, or just have it in the field with him to check on reservations or who's at what site, etc. But this goes across the board with shelter reservations, etc. So we're making sure that we're mobile compatible. The one challenge we have, particularly at Wabadonia, is the Wi-Fi reception is terrible. It's non-existent, and so making it truly mobile is a little bit challenging out there. It's a little bit better at some of the other parks. So we're continuing to work on that. It might be a situation where our caretaker is kind of hardwired at his house. It might be a situation in the short term that he has to use that until we can figure out better Wi-Fi reception for him to be in the field and use a tablet. But again, all things to work on, but huge strides. We've been trying to work towards this for 3 years, and it's been working great. I think on the first slide I shared, but we've had it live since mid-June. So June 17th, I think we took our first reservation. And there obviously are a few transition hiccups, but really it's been going very smoothly. And so we're looking to expand that. So we're building out the website now. We haven't made all the other park shelter reservations live yet, or we just started to do that. So I think Covered Bridge is online now. And we're working to do that with all the parks as far as shelters and picnic areas and et cetera. The other one thing I'll mention, because it came up with pickleball, if we were to ever, make reservable courts, et cetera, we can set it all up and not make it live until we want it. So we can do that prep work. And then if needed, we can just basically turn it on and make it live. And to our earlier discussion, right now, I don't anticipate any kind of reservation fee or anything. If it ever came to that, though, we can do reservations basically at no fee or a fee. So all that pricing option is very adjustable. So I appreciate the time. That's all I had. I definitely welcome any questions. And if you had any concerns or other comments, but work in progress, a huge step forward though for us. And I'm really looking forward to how it's going to improve our efficiencies.
So, Andrew, I have a question. When you say mobile applications, does that mean there's an app you can get to have on your like iPhone and stuff?
There is an app. We haven't gotten quite that far, but there is an app available, so we can get it set up that they can do it through an app as well. But it also, I should maybe say right now, what we're working on is making it mobile friendly so that the page layout and everything should come up, on a phone or on a tablet, so you can, access and read it all, etc. So one is mobile friendly, but there is an app, and we'll be looking at trying to transition to have that available as well.
And then there's probably like a link, like on the county website, that they can just.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's fully integrated, so it's on our department website, but we also worked with Register of Deeds and specifically Ron Voigt, so it's right on our front page right now. One of the 3 major icons on the main county website is the reservations, and that's been going great. It really helps people find it. So yes, you can just go right onto the county website and find the link right on the main page right now. So,
Looks nice.
I think this is where we're going in the future. I mean, we want good use of the parks, and this is part of the whole situation. I guess personally, I'm against cash. That's a difficult situation. Always causes problems. I've dealt with that in the past. So this sounds like, problem that I have is the Wi-Fi being on the dead zone, for flopping out. It's just that. And Wabadonia Park, is that a problem too? Major
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah, Wabadonia Park definitely has a challenge for the Wi-Fi right now. So in this interim, when people have done walk-on and we have the caretaker walk through the reservation systems or trying to get them to use it through the online, it is a little inconvenient right now. They have to leave the park to get Wi-Fi reception. They don't have to go far, but to the top of the hill, essentially. So it's a little inconvenient. We're going to try and work on how we can boost the Wi-Fi at Wabadonia, but I know we've tried in the past, and it's extremely challenging because we're low in a valley there. But I would say 90% is pre-reservation. So people are doing it prior to arrival and from home and stuff. So it's a little inconvenient, but it hasn't been a huge issue. And we have better service at some of the other parks, but that's always going to be a challenge. Yes.
So
And-
those that plan have access. If you don't plan and it's walk-on, then it makes things more difficult, correct?
Yeah. And I said, again, I didn't want to eliminate the walk-on ability. If we have open sites, I didn't want to prevent anybody from being able to walk on and take a site if available. One thing we're seeing is that certainly the sites are getting reserved more and earlier. And so I think, pushing this direction will be really good. To your point though, Barb, too, on the cash, we've always been trying to get away from that as well. So getting the reservation through the system is much better. It's credit card payment. And there's different, like I said, options to do that. So it's a lot more secure, less money transfer, handling, recording, monitoring, etc. And we get reports for all of the payments that come through, and trying to integrate that with the finance system, but that will come with time. But yeah, lot more secure, and definitely one thing too, much more efficient. So.
Any other questions for Andrew? Then we'll move on to donation of land, environmental corridor and department project area for a county park along Ulio Creek, Village of Grafton.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. I wanted to share a photo here. I'm not finding it at the moment. I will, 1 second, and I will share that. So some of you may recall, but we've been working with the landowner of, well, several landowners along Uleo Creek for our restoration since probably 2010. All along there, private landowners, but in particular, one landowner that we refer to as the Gateway parcel. So this is technically in the village of Grafton. The parcel is an outlot of the development where Water Street Brewery is, the gas station, and the 2 hotels, Hampton Inn and Suites, and the other hotel that are there. So that subdivision, an outlot, was dedicated along Uleo Creek, and for probably the last, well, since we started restoration work probably in 2011, we've been working with that landowner who also owns the gas station property and manages the gas station. And so they've been allowing us to do our restoration work. We had a memorandum to do the remeandering of the creek in that area and some of the habitat improvements. They've been a really great partner for us on that project. One of several landowners that have been great. So he approached us a little while back, actually prior to the pandemic and so forth, about the possibility of donating that land to the county. They, like I said, currently own and manage the gas station. They're 2 brothers that own the property, and they sold some of the development for like I said, Water Street Brewery and the hotels. But anyway, what they remain left. One of the brothers is currently still owning and operating the gas station, but they're looking to potentially phase out of that operation at some point in the near future, not immediately. But they also have this outlot holding. Again, it's not developable. It's floodplain, wetlands. Like I said, they've been a great partner in our restoration. And so they approached us with the possibility of donating the property to the county for a county park. It is all environmental corridor, which is listed in our county park and open space plan, and as well as our county project area along Uleo Creek. And so again, they thought we would have an interest and willing to donate it. I'm not finding the map that I wanted to, but I'm gonna see if I can share one here anyway. Just so you can see the property.
Is it all east of the service road? Is that kind of how it is?
Correct. All east of the service road. And now I'm sharing the map here. Hopefully I'll just get it resized. Yeah, so it's approximately 10 acres or so, all east of the what's Gateway Road, which is why we call it the Gateway property. So this is off the interchange with I-43 just to the west, Highway 60 or County Highway V going east. This is Schmidt's, off to the east is the Schmidt cement concrete plant. Like I said, these are the gas stations here, as well as Water Street Brewery and the 2 hotels. And so this is the parcel. Like I said, majority is in the floodplain, the vast majority wetlands as well. And you can see all the restoration work that we've done. In this case, all the plantings and stuff since 2014. So over 700 trees and the stream remeandering. So a lot of restoration work by the county has been done using federal and state grants, et cetera. So yeah, this is a really nice opportunity. The thing that we like about it is, one, the county has invested time and energy into the restoration activities here, managing invasive species. And we use this actually very frequently. We give a tour with the Natural Resource Foundation every year As one example, we give them a tour annually to the Natural Resource Foundation members. And this is one of the sites we take them to because it's accessible and we can talk about some of the restoration activities that the department and the county are working on. The other part that we like about it though is really gives us a public face for some of this restoration work that's accessible. So, we could envision, users of the hotels or Water Street Brewery, being able to access the site in the future and learn both passively, like through educational signage, but also actively, we use for tours, et cetera. So, he's very interested in moving forward. I wanted to discuss it with the committee and get it in front of you first, but he would welcome the opportunity to come and talk with the committee too, if so desired. But yeah, he's interested in trying to help facilitate this and add it as a county park. He has a real interest too in what I just mentioned as far as the public access and the restoration work that we're doing to kind of highlight that. And like I said, it doesn't serve any needs for their development portfolio, if you will. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments or concerns or.
Well, that's great. I think it would be great if you could come talk at one of our meetings.
Be a good asset for Ozark County to have that, especially across from the hotels. If you've stayed in hotels, you can't go anywhere and there'd be a
Right,
park across the
right.
street would
Yeah.
be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing we envisioned is, like I said, it is floodplain and, many times a year it's dry and walkable in areas, and that's why we do the tours, but we would also envision, maybe adding a boardwalk trail system. So just like you said, users of Water Street Brewery or the hotels could take a little walk in there, do some passive education with signage. So I think it's a real good opportunity. And
Yeah, right
yes,
now, all we see is that sign that's there and people don't really know, much about it. They just see it, but
If there'd be a trail in the future, often people who stay at the hotels want to take a morning run or so, you'd have somewhere to go other than pavement.
yes.
I think it would be an asset to Ozark County.
Yeah, I agree. And we've also had discussions with the hotel and Water Street Brewery and of course the gas station, because they're the owners of the property, and everybody is really supportive of it. So I can see some future partnerships there in the future. Just for the very reasons you guys mentioned, they seem to be very supportive.
Any other questions for Andrew on this? Then we'll move on to the management, financial, and informational reports. We've got planning and parks reports. Should we take these individually or?
Sure, I can just try and quickly go through them. I just wanted to provide a little bit of updates on some of these items. So I can just quickly mention them. On the capital projects that the department's working on, I just wanted to give you an update, particularly on Covered Bridge. So obviously you approved the bid in construction of the bathroom shelter facility out there. So we're moving very quickly on that, working with the contractor that's been selected, getting all of the signed documents and permits in place, permits on the POUT system, et cetera, working with the town of Cedarburg. In fact, I was at a town of Cedarburg meeting last night for the approval of our holding tank out at the site. So things are going really well. Our surveyor is working to survey the property as well for the shoreline permit requirements. So everything is going well, and we're looking forward to breaking ground as soon as possible. I know the contractor wants to get started as soon as possible. He's already done some materials orders and is looking to get on the ground as quickly as possible. And we're just working, like I said, final approval paperwork on some of the permitting and POUTS agreements with the town, which got approved last night, by the way. So Covered Bridge is going really well. We're starting to move forward on the shelter design and engineering for Lions Den Gorge. We've been doing some survey work out there. this past couple weeks, just to get all the wetlands surveyed in, and kind of the benchmarks for where the building will be sited, which right now I'll share some preliminary designs when we get those. Right now, though, the building looks like the best location will be sited on the north side of the Park Road, kind of back by the circular turnaround. It looks like the best site. We're working through a couple of other issues. We're working with We Energies on a quote for the electrical service to the park, because we currently don't have electrical service into Lions Den. So that's ongoing, and we're working through that engineering with them, with We Energies. And we're working on the Pouts issues as well. So supplying the septic that'll be necessary. So design and engineering ongoing at Lions Den, and I certainly will have shortly some conceptual plans to share with you on that design as well. Very similar in nature, though, to Covered Bridge. Ongoing work on the maintenance facility for Hawthorne Hills. That's taken a little bit of a backseat just because we're so busy with the Covered Bridge construction, and we've wanted to ramp up getting the Lions Den shelter design up to speed as well. So that one's taken a little backseat, but we have continued to work on the maintenance building design and with our architect CUNY. And let's see. And then lastly, just at County Board, you authorized some of the funding for ADA projects, and 2 of those are out at Hawthorne Hills. So one is for the golf course upgrade of the bathrooms. So we'll start work on that design and engineering. Conceptually, we envision that as a full addition onto the clubhouse to accommodate it, rather than a remodel of the existing bathrooms, which would, according to our architect, would be far more costly. So cheaper just to build on a new addition that'll come out kind of the front area of the clubhouse. That's conceptually what we're looking at. And then the other is ADA improvements at H.H. Peters Youth Camp. So again, there it's the bathrooms that primarily need work, although there's a few other items, but those we are envisioning to do the remodel to make ADA. So all of that, those are the big ones, all that's ongoing. And then lastly, we had county approved capital funding to work on projects at Lions Den Gorge. So we've been working with our highway department, trying to get Lions Den Gorge parking expansion designed and for implementation, and we'll be working through the necessary permitting there. That should coincide with our work on the bathroom shelter. And then also we have a WISC Corps team that's currently with us, Conservation Corps team. And we envision, they're here with us for 2 more weeks. We envision one of those 2 weeks, they'll start actually disassembling the overlook at the Fish and Wildlife property, so that we can get that, start the process of disassembly of that, so that we can work towards the capital project, which was putting in new floating pier and improvements to the boardwalk. So very, very quick summary, but that's where we are on all the capital projects. So I don't know if there's any questions on that at all. If not, I can just roll on to Clay Bluffs. I think I mentioned really all I wanted to say at the county board yesterday, but we still are waiting on stewardship decisions for the funding that the Ozaukee-Washington Land Trust applied to. And we continue to work through the process of finalizing all of our federal grants as far as the specific and contract documents and stuff. So we have a monthly meeting with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on several of those federal grants to continue to work on those documents and contracts. But yeah, I'm hoping we'll hear shortly on the stewardship funding, and then can kind of proceed. We still envision that a closing date would probably be early 22 at the most optimistic would be probably early 22 at this point. So that's on Clay Bluffs. just real quick, I just wanted to follow up on, I think I talked with you a couple meetings ago about some new partnerships, and one was with Colders right there on Uleo Creek. So they did a special promotional thing for Earth Day for us. And we got a donation of $1,500 that'll go towards trees and tree planting. They would prefer it, would like us to use it out at Uleo Creek. And so another, good use of either way, but with the Gateway property. So that being right across from their Colders facility, they really like the idea, and are looking to do this as an annual thing for Earth Day and try and expand it so that they can even donate more dollars in the future. So that was good. We did receive that donation from them. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention fairly big designation and significance. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, just recently announced within the last couple of weeks that the official designation, I guess they've changed the official name now too, but it was the Mid-Lake Michigan National Marine Sanctuary. But that designation is moving forward. That sanctuary, that National Marine Sanctuary, will cover 962 square miles of Lake Michigan, and it encompasses 36 shipwrecks in counties of Kewaunee, Manitowoc, Sheboygan, and Ozaukee. And for Ozaukee, our portion is essentially from just south of City of Port Washington up to the northern county line. So it does not, the current boundaries does not include the southern part of the county at this time. But that's moving forward. There is a public comment period that's out there right now. I think it closes in a few days, maybe 10 or so days. But that designation has been probably 5 or so years in the coming, kind of on and off again, but that is moving forward with approvals from the state and feds. So that's really exciting, and it's going to be, I think, once things get underway, I think it'll be really good for tourism and probably visitation for the parks as well. So yeah, something to look forward to. I think so. Like I said, I think it becomes, I think they'll finalize designation, or it becomes official probably in a month or so, pending any other public comment on the designation. They have had multiple public comment periods, so this is kind of the last round, I guess, before final designation. So I think that's all I wanted to touch on as far as updates, unless there are any questions on financials or anything else. I just would say the golf courses are doing really great. Again, the conditions have been good. The play has been good. We're hopefully improving the situation with our restaurant and service there. It's been a challenge with staffing, but hopefully we're getting that squared away, and yeah, revenues are up. So that's good. And we have seen an uptick in park revenues too, particularly with the online reservation system. So.
Any questions, sir?
Any update on Vermont?
Stairway?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're continuing to monitor the situation. In fact, I just got an update from our contractor yesterday. He still is recommending to wait. We've also had UWC grant out there, and same thing. So mainly we're waiting on a technical aspect, but I would say, and I know that we talked about this, Supervisor Minkle, but we are also doing a simultaneously campaign, fundraising campaign. Part of that is to really serve our match needs for one of our second coastal management grant, our phase 2 coastal management grant. But our contractor is under contract, and he will continue. He did start phase 2 of the staircase construction. You probably saw another landing and so forth being constructed, but then we put it on hold. There is some subsidence out at Vermont with the high lake levels that were there and then receding, and then dry conditions this spring actually you would think would be really good, but because of some of the winter activity, particularly slumping and so forth. We're kind of waiting for things to subside a little bit. So actually we need a little bit of rain, which we've started to get now, to just see how things settle out. So we're mainly waiting to restart on phase 2. We did start, but we're waiting to restart based on conditions. And right now our contractor is still recommending to wait. And so we don't really have an exact timeline, but we're still hoping to have construction done this year. We did extend our coastal management grant as well, just to accommodate that. But the contractor is under a contract and has been monitoring actively. And same time, we're doing the fundraising campaign, of which those funds will help pay for or provide for the match for that coastal management grant, and some of the other amenities like the restoration that we hope to do at the site. And also kind of the brick paver path that is part of our fundraising campaign. So
Are you still planning to send out that fundraising letter?
we are now. Yeah, we got through a slug of things and also just kind of working with the contractor, but we are planning to send that out. And particularly in light of our online donation system being up and running better now too, we do intend to send that out. So yes.
I think it would be helpful, Andrew, if you could include in that letter the information that you and I talked about what the delay is and the reason for the delay, and maybe, I don't know if it might be helpful to include that table of the breakdown, or just, maybe a simpler breakdown of the grants.
Sure.
Just so people understand where the funding is coming from and what the 30,000 is for, because there's obviously some confusion about that.
Right. And it is a little confusing. And part of that, I will say, and we've talked about this on email and so forth, but so part of the confusion with the funding is when our phase 2 coastal management grant actually got awarded, which was 6 months later than we anticipated. And so therefore some of the match that we had anticipated using from our existing grants, stewardship, et cetera, were no longer eligible because we can only use match during the grant period. That the delay in getting the contract and everything was not on our part. It was just NOAA approval, some conditions for NEPA review, et cetera. It's not atypical. They always say that all that will be done and they'll award by July. We didn't receive the grant award until the very end of December. And obviously from a timing standpoint, that's confusing, but complicating. So the fundraising campaign also is to bolster that, because we had eligible match when both we applied a couple years back and started the project. We had eligible match, but now that match is no longer usable because it falls outside that grant period. So
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that is the complication. So now we're trying to fundraise to come up with the balance of the match that's required for the coastal management grant, which it's all wrapped together. That project includes the staircase, the restoration, the brick paver path, or an improved path there. So, but technically we have the contractor under contract for the amount to finish the staircase.
Yeah, some residents don't understand that. And so
I get it. It's very
so I think it would be helpful in that fundraising letter just to make that clear that the continuing construction is not dependent on fundraising that money.
Yep.
And it should make it clear that it's for technical reasons, soil conditions, all of that.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. And I might word it slightly differently, because I also don't want to prevent donations from coming in, because we will still need them. So it's that balance between saying, yes, we are proceeding with the project and will be done, but also that we are looking to fulfill some of our funding needs.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely will. And I will share that letter with you too before it goes out. We'll have to do a little rewriting given the recent circumstances, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That's it for Andrew. Next meeting date is August 5th. And then I look for a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
so remind us, is that your district?
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you, Andrew.
You know,
Yep.
all the construction fencing and nothing's going on and like.